All right, we're live. I'll just wait, Charlie, and just double check on the stream. All good. Make sure it switches over.
No worries.
Right. Beauty, I heard myself. We're all good. All right. G'day, guys. Clarkie's column here. Dane. Joined by Charlie from League Central, who's the largest updates page on Instagram. About 56,000 followers you got?
Yeah, about that, eh?
Beauty, and a lot of NRL players on the page. How are you, man?
Yeah, I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. How was your Christmas, New Year's? Tell me about it.
Yeah, it was good. Pretty cruisy. Just had the family over. I went down to Sydney for a week and a bit.
Beautiful.
Got away from work and...
Yeah. Had a few beers with Bronson Zare, a young gun I saw in your story there.
Yeah, bro. He's a champion.
Yeah, he's a great guy, man. He's got a big future too.
Oh,
all right, guys. Today we'll be going over the latest news. We're going to be doing a little bit of a trivia / giveaway. I've got 2 questions for you guys. We're going to talk about Gallen versus Hopewadi, the boxing fight. Not too much on that. Then we're going to go over my predicted team lists, 1 to 16. We're going to go through all teams. And then, of course, we're finishing with my favourite segment, then versus now. Now, the giveaway will just be some small NRL clocks. I'll pop over here real quick and I'll show you. Nothing too special, guys. It's just a little clock. And I've got most teams left. So, just a little bit of interest. Nothing too drastic. Let's start with the first bit of news. Cameron Smith, new year, but not a new deal. Should the Melbourne Storm be worried, man? Or do you think it's just a matter of time before this is resolved?
I think it's a matter of time. Melbourne obviously is a world-class player. They wouldn't say no to him. I think trying to get the deal done is what's keeping him held back, but I think he should re-sign. He's aiming for that 400 game milestone, so I don't think they'd say no to that. He's an absolute champion of a player. And
yeah, I mean, they do have international New Zealand hooker Brandon Smith at the club, but yeah. I mean, it's Cameron Smith we're talking about, right? I know a lot of people think he didn't have his best year last season, but to me, that's pretty silly. I think he was still very dominant, and every year they do a thing where the players can vote. One of the questions was who was the best player in the game, and overwhelmingly the players responded with Cam Smith. He was up at about 47%, with the next, I think it was like Cooper Cronk at 12% or something. So the players know it. The fans, you'd think that would know it, but a lot of people are doubtful on where he stands in the game. Is he still the best player for you?
Oh, 100%. I think you get players like Cronk, Thurston, Smith. Arguably, those 3 are the best, in my opinion at least. But you would have thought that they would have announced some sort of, press conference where he'd announce his future by now, and that hasn't happened. So yeah, I think they're going to get the deal done on the side, and when it happens, it's going to blow up.
Yeah, definitely. Apparently, he's looking at a 2-year deal. 2-year deal, 1-year deal. What do you think's best for Smith?
Oh, that bloke could go until he's 40, I reckon. Yeah. If I was smart, I'd say 1, because he's getting old. There's no doubt about that. But, I mean, he could go 2. He's that good. He could go another 2. But he'll hit 4. I'm hoping he hits 400 games. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure everyone else is hoping that as well. And
yeah,
my hat off to him as well.
Great player. Next bit of news that's been over what we missed. I missed last week with the podcast, guys. It was around New Year's, so we have not too much news. You just expect a little bit more, but being this time of the year, it is all pretty quiet. Reports have emerged. James Gavet is the favourite to partner David Klemmer for the Newcastle Knights come round 1. What are your thoughts on this? Would you have Gavet as the starting prop with Klemmer, or would you look to someone else potentially?
I'm a bit on the fence with this. They've got to be, I think, there's 3 front rowers next year. They got Glasby there, Essie, Gabby, Klemmer. Mm-hmm. I'm a bit on the fence. I mean, any of those players I'd love to see start, but just Gavet's work ethic. He's one of the most underrated players in the whole game, I believe, personally. Yeah. But I think, it's hard to say, really.
Well, I don't know if you can see, but behind me there is a signed photo next to Jared Hayne, where my thumb is, just there, James Gavet, when he'd only played about 2 games for the Tigers. And I read a story, and, it was a little bit sad, but it was also inspiring. He was really close to his grandfather growing up, and his grandfather actually passed away. And every day he would go to the cemetery and sit by his grandfather's, gravestone. And, I'm getting goosebumps right now talking about it. But, he wanted to play footy to make his granddad proud. I think he can definitely say he's done that, man.
Oh, 100%. He's a great player, and from what he's come from, like you just said, most players have a purpose to play footy, and a lot of them is family based, a lot of it's religion based, all that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think the teams he's played for, he's been at, I think, the Dogs, the Tigers, I think he was at the Broncos as well.
Broncos for a year, and then Warriors.
And now he's at the Knights, and I take my hat off to him, and I think he's a genuine player, and he could change that whole squad as well. That would be Knights fans. You should be excited.
Oh, definitely. There's a clip from last year where Clemmer gets the ball for the kickoff, and Gave picks him out and comes straight at him, and it's a collision that was probably felt out of space. It was a big hit. For me, and this is nothing against Gave, in fact, it's a compliment if anything, I think he starts off the bench. Now, my reasoning for this is David Clemmer, very aggressive front rower. My other pick to partner him in the front row, Herman Sasa, aggressive but also conservative and a pretty cool head on him. I think Gave partners Tim Glasby, which is an origin forward, also with a cool head, off the bench. Now, when it comes time to replace Clemmer, let's replace him with someone aggressive. Let's bring Gave out there and keep that intensity up. When it comes time to place Sasa, let's bring Glasby on. Let's keep that cool, calm prop out there, as opposed to two aggressive forwards to two conservative, safe forwards. Does that sort of make sense to you?
Yeah, it does, man. 100%. Oh, exactly. You've just taken the words right out of my mouth as well. Those two, Clemmer and Gave, they'll give you so much mongrel.
Mm-hmm.
Glasby, he's cool, he's calm, he's collected. So is Sasa, but
comes from a great system.
Either player, they're going to do the job for the Knights, so they should be excited.
All right, speaking of doing the job for the Knights, last question before we move on. Are they top 8 2019?
Oh, this has been debated.
Oh, isn't it? It is the hottest topic, I believe, in rugby league right now. For me, it's the first season they have any expectation, right? Last year there was expectation because Pearce got injured all of a sudden. Oh, the Knights aren't expected to make the top 8 anymore. This is a year where, in my opinion, with the squad and the depth they have, they should be looking at top 8, right?
Oh, 100%, mate. They look at that squad. Some of those players, there's some players they've signed that are underrated, and players that have signed that are absolute champions. Like, I look at people saying shift Ponga to 5'8". I reckon keep Ponga at fullback. I reckon put Lino in the halves. The work Lino does is crazy. And they got blokes like Edric Lee, Jesse Ramian, Zach Wolford, all those blokes.
Hymel Hunt, good depth with him.
Hymel Hunt, yeah, exactly. They've got so many options if they can't pick.
And their Knights side will go very well in the New South Wales Cup. We can guarantee that.
I reckon that's fair, going top 8.
Yeah, top 8 for me also, I believe. Let's stay on the Knights, but let's move on to a new bit of news. Mitchell Pearce is set to be named the sole captain of this club. What do you make of that? Is that the correct decision by Nathan Brown moving forward for the club?
I think so. There's a lot of young blokes in that team, and he can provide a lot of help to them as well. Not only to the halves, but to the backs and the forwards. He's a leader. He's played for his state. That's the pinnacle of the game right there. And I believe that he's copped a lot of criticism over time. He got done over very hard by the Roosters, and definitely. I reckon that was absolutely wrong what they did to him. And from what he's done, he had a bit of a quiet season last year with the Knights, not going to lie. He's a great player in my opinion, but injury set him back a lot, and it's sort of hard to get back into rhythm after injury. But I reckon this year he's just going to absolutely just crush it, give it their all, and take my hat off to him. He's deserving of that captaincy.
In my opinion, if Maloney or Cleary is unavailable for Origin, despite the fact Luke Brooks is the reigning Dally M halfback of the year, despite the fact Luke Keary has represented Australia, I think Pearce pips them due to his experience. And,
exactly.
He adds a lot to any NRL side. I think, Nathan Brown has shown he's putting his full trust in Pearce with a new halves partner. Not just a new halves partner, the hottest talent in rugby league, the best young player coming through. He did nothing wrong, and the saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There's so much responsibility on Pearce, and Nathan Brown obviously trusts him. I think it's a smart move.
And I think their relationships is really good as well, Pearce and Brown's. And I think Pearce gets along with the playing group like a house on fire as well. He's respected. I think Newcastle's a perfect fit for him, and yeah, he deserves that C.
Speaking of perfect fits and respected figures, John Morris announced the interim head coach of the Cronulla Sharks. Now, Shane Flanagan is set to put an appeal in. It's not looking too good for him. You'd have to think, given the evidence that's there, they won't overturn the decision of suspension on him. So it looks like at this stage, John Morris is the main man for the Sharks. We did a podcast with my mate Jason. So Jason, if you guys don't know, is the other half of my page. And when I say the other half, he posts maybe once a year. He is so incredibly lazy. But when we first started the page and we were both in the Navy going through our training, we did a lot more collabs together. But since obviously he's at sea now, so he doesn't have as much time. Me and him did a quick podcast and we threw up all the coach options. And at the time he said John Morris. And I sort of thought, what? Like, John Morris? Why would he be the coach? And I wasn't aware. He won the premiership with the NYC squad a couple years ago. So, he does have good coaching experience. The question for me is, Jim Dymock was overlooked by, I believe, the Canterbury Bulldogs, and he's being overlooked again despite being the more experienced coach of the two. Will this cause any problems at Cronulla, a club that has some pretty public problems at the moment? Will it cause any more problems, or do you think it'll all be sweet and it'll play itself out, this one?
I think I stated this last podcast we did. Cronulla have got to focus on footy. Whoever's appointed, they've got to do the job. They've got a squad of 30 blokes there who anything can happen, and they're looking for sponsors at the moment. Their captain's in a bit of flack over that publicity video, and also I think Dimmick was a bit unlucky not to be taken over as interim coach, but because of his experience with Canterbury in the past, I think, and a few other clubs. But, Morris, anyone can do the job pretty much. If you got a footy head and a brain for it, anyone can get the job done. And take my hat off to John Morris. He was at that club for a while. And
300 gamer.
Yeah, 300 gamer.
I think with the squad Cronulla Sharks have at the moment, anyone with a bit of coaching experience could realistically come in. That squad should still be a top 8 squad. This is just pure speculation, but let me know what you think. I'm going to throw a statement out there, and like I said, it's pure speculation. There's no evidence or facts behind this.
Yep.
Jim Dimmick, however you say it, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. I think it's Dymock, but I could be wrong. Was not selected as the interim head coach because the players do not respect him as much as they respect John Morris. Why I'm making that statement? When Fafita pointed to the coaching box very angrily. To me, I've never seen a player react like that to a coach. I mean, I've played a lot of footy in my time since I was 6, and as much as that's not at the professional level, I would never score a try. Well, that would never happen anyway. But if I did score a try, I would not turn around and point to my coach and, do you think, am I making sense, or am I thinking into it too much?
Exactly. And every player, I say this all the time, each to their own. There's a lot of players in the game that absolutely don't have a brain or don't, do stupid stuff. And if that's one player that doesn't get along with him and they don't appoint him because of that reason, that's an absolute joke, I believe. He's a great coach. There's a lot of stupid players. Like, they're all great blokes, I could imagine, but there's a lot of blokes that make stupid decisions. And, like, what Fafita did, I think that was just, that was silly.
Yeah,
I don't think that would have been taken into consideration when hiring the coach. But
maybe I am looking into that a little bit too much. And next bit of news, we go north of the border. Brisbane Broncos, Sean Fensom, 1-year deal. I did a little column on this earlier today. Pretty much said, yes, I think it's a good signing, right price, good experience in an otherwise inexperienced forward pack. And I also mentioned the State of Origin period. Now, how's about some of these names that are up for State of Origin selection potentially? Matt Gillette, Matt Lodge, Andrew McCullough, Joe Offahengawi, Tavita Pangai Jr. That is almost their entire forward pack.
Pretty much.
I can't see that signing being a bad one, can you?
I can't either. He's a great bloke, great player, tough nut. His injuries in the past have been crazy, and for him to come back and do what he's done.
What did I think Vossi said in the one game? He's as tough as $2 steak. And Vossi comes up with some great ones. That's some of his best work, and look, he certainly didn't lie. The bloke is. If you had to describe Sean Fensom in one word, tough. There's just no other. He should just, like, when you in the dictionary, tough should just have Sean Fensom underneath it.
Oh, and there was a game earlier in the year. I think it was Cowboys Tigers. It was in Indigenous round, and I think Fensom dislocated his elbow and hyperextended it at the same time and kept playing. And if that was me, I would have gone off in an ambulance.
Bro, the grand final against the Storm for the Cowboys, he hurts his leg. He's on the stretcher giving everyone the thumbs up. Bro, I give myself like a paper cut or prick, or I don't know. And I'm sooking like a girl, and this guy's just, it's nothing. It's just a broken leg. Like, this guy is as tough as they come for me.
It's got to be all in the mind, eh? Like, I wouldn't be able to do that.
Nah, as you said, he is tough as nails.
Oh, exactly. He's got to have some crazy mindset.
All right, something we don't usually touch on too much on this show. We will touch on it now. We won't speculate too much. Michael Cheekham. I don't know if it's official, but I believe he has been charged with assault on an Uber driver. The story getting around is he stopped and asked the Uber driver for some water on New Year's Eve, and the Uber driver refused because he wasn't obviously getting in his car. So he obviously assaulted him in some way, whether that was a push, slap, punch, whatever. I'm not going to speculate. And then from there, he's gotten into another taxi and taken off. The Uber drivers rang the police. That taxi was then hailed down by police, and he was subsequently, I don't know if he was arrested or not, but I believe he has been charged by police.
I think he has. I'm not too sure, but...
Yeah, we probably should have looked that up before. But regardless, if this all proves true, and Michael Cheekham does cop some form of suspension from the NRL and misses game time for the Tigers, do they have enough depth where they can lose him and still be pushing for the top 8 where they want to be?
Hard to say. I mean, he had a very good season last year. He's one of their, probably underrated players. I mean, if there was this punishment that was made and they lost him, I don't think it would make too much of a difference to the squad.
Mm-hmm.
I think they do have some players that could fill the void. Josh Alloway and other blokes like like veterans like Chris McQueen, and I believe that they could affect him. I think they should just, as well, like Cronulla, focus on playing footy, because if they play like they did last year, I mean, they might not have a good season. They need to focus on top 8. That should be their main goal before they focus on anything higher like semi-finals or grand finals.
Definitely agree. I've just brought up a tweet then from Danny Weidler, obviously Channel 9 journalist. More drama for the NRL. Incident in Bondi last night. West Tigers Michael Cheekham charged with assault. So, he has been charged there. We can confirm that. What I can also confirm, guys, is we're about to do a little bit of a giveaway. Charlie, if you could just bear with me for a little bit. Almost a little bit of trivia here. So the question... In 2015, who was the NRL top try scorer? The person who answers this first, I'll write your name down. Afterwards, I'll contact you and send you a free NRL clock of your choice. So I've got me pen and paper here now. And just looking at the chat, there's a little bit of delay, so we have to wait. Ben Barber, incorrect. Alex Johnston, incorrect. Vonavalu, incorrect. Korobidi, you guys are getting close. He is a Fijian. Brett William, who was that?
Brett William? Who's that?
I don't know who that is. EV Dog Carney, he wasn't in the NRL in 2015. EV Dog got it correct. It was Big Semi Radradra. EV Dog, just message me on Instagram now, or I'll look up your Instagram after this, and or message my Facebook page. We'll organise that. Second question, guys. Second chance. Everyone get ready. First one to get it, guess this, will receive a clock. Which Newcastle Knights legend retired at the end of 2008? Now, there's a couple of legends that played around that era. I think this one's a little bit easier than the first one. I think someone will get this one a bit faster as we wait for the chat to catch up. Boom, boom, boom. John Morris? Joey Johns? Incorrect. Jared Croker? No.
Croker.
Andrew Johns? Nah, not Johns. Danny Badiris. Edward Hurley has got that correctly. So, Edward, again, message my Facebook page or my Instagram, man. If you haven't messaged, I'll try to reach you after this. But as I said, I got a couple clocks next to me. My mate Blake pocketed a Newcastle Knights one today when he came over. If you're watching, Blake, hope you like their little present. But yeah, so that's the 2 winners for tonight. Message me on Instagram any prizes you guys want to see potentially in the future. And let's get back onto topic. Our next bit of news is Paul Gallen versus Hopewadi. All right, Charlie.
Yeah.
So I find this video on Reddit and I think, you know what, I need to share this. And I haven't shared this with the intention of what's actually occurred. But if I look on my Instagram, it's got 14,000 views at the time of me saying this right now. And if I look on my Facebook, it has 71,000 views. So about 83,000 views in one day. Enough that Paul Gallen's noticed it and come out on his personal Instagram and said that that video was leaked from a WhatsApp chat. I don't know, man. I'm looking into this as a publicity stunt, you know. Oh, the video was leaked and I'm going to smash you and everyone's going to see this video now and think about our fight. Now they're going to see my video and share this video everywhere. It's getting people talking about the fight. To me, it's a publicity stunt. Do you think it's a publicity stunt, or do you believe someone from the Sharkies actually leaked that to Hopper and there is some bad blood behind the club?
I think it is a publicity stunt. It's pathetic, if you ask me. Gallen's in his last year, I reckon, this year. He should be focusing on carrying his team around the park and not some stupid fight, because right now I think all his attention's on that fight, and his club's in turmoil. His club's gone through a lot of trouble at the moment.
He should be focused on footy. Here's some quotes that we've got. So, on the day the fight was announced, Hopewadi said, "Come watch me retire Gal. He can watch from the sidelines with his footy coach, Flanagan."
Yeah.
Then he uploaded the video that I uploaded earlier today. And I don't know if this is correct or not, but I'm hearing he said, I'm going to bash you and your fag teammates. The original video, the caption is now, Insta keeps deleting this post. I can't wait for February 8. So,
few comments, and like, it's a bad look for the game. I mean,
it's bogan as. I guess I didn't want to use that word. I was trying to think of like a more professional word, but it's just bogan. Like
these guys are. Oh, like they've got one shouldn't be, you know, because of, you know what I mean. He's one of the most suspended players in NRL history, and I said, Gallen has a team he's got to carry, and if he's smart, he'd be focusing on footy, not this stupid stuff. And it's like I said, it's a bad look for the game.
What about the younger players at the Sharks? Your club's in turmoil. You look to your captain. But your captain's not interested. He's interested in his boxing fight. He's worried about himself. To me, that's not really an attribute of a captain.
Pardon?
To me, that's not really an attribute of a captain. Like, all young players at your club will be looking towards him. And Gallen's just I'm focused on my boxing fight, guys. Like,
I think, because Wade Graham's the captain there as well, and I haven't heard a word come out of his mouth this whole off-season. He's been focusing on his recovery and his rehab of his ACL, and I think that's what a true player should be doing, is keeping under the limelight, secluded away from everything, you know, working hard. And, that's what Gow should be doing. And if he does want to go ahead with this fight, he should be training the house down. He should be working so hard, club and outside of club. And, like, oh, mate.
100% agree. NRL Roast tweets out, so Paul Gallen telling Hopper he will end his professional sporting career in a backyard while drinking cans with Andrew Fafita sporting a mullet. Hopper replies he will bash him in front of his fag mates. We just need Shannon Old to make this the most bogan event of 2019. And lastly, before we move on, Gallen's latest quote on the fight, this will be your last fight. You won't fight again after this because I'm going to knock you out, champ. One last thing before we move on. Who's your tip for the fight? Who's going to take home that W?
I like to see Gal get knocked out. If I'm being honest, I'm not really. Yeah, I'm not really. I like boxing, but I'm not really, excited. Oh, I'm excited to watch the fight, but I'm not, gonna.
I'll watch it, but I'm a big UFC fan. I get hyped for UFC events. I'm not getting hyped for this fight, man.
But I think it's just stupid, and the way they've made this whole thing out to be. And if you want to fight, don't put all this stuff on social media. Put all your attention into actually training and boxing. Don't do all this
It's
stuff.
almost like Conor McGregor with the blueprint for every sport, and now every single combat fighter wants a piece of the trash talk. And
exactly,
I mean, your footy players at the end of the day, it just does not suit. Let's move on to my predicted 17s. I'm going to go through and do every single NRL team. Everyone that's watching in the comments, let me know as we go. Just let me know in the chat any changes you'd make or whether you agree, disagree on what I'm saying. Starting off with the Brisbane Broncos, Charlie. I think Boyd stays at fullback, Asako and Oates, wings. I think Jack Bird returns at centre to get his confidence back early. I think James Roberts is the other obvious centre choice there. Halves, no change yet. I think Seabold will come in. I think he'll be very conservative with this team at first. So I've got Nico and Milford there still. Front row, Lodge, McCullough, Offahan, Gowie. Back row, Glenn Gillette, Tavita Pangai Jr. Bench, Tony Staggs, David Fafita, Payne Haas, Jaden Sewer. Would you make any changes to my 17?
I think my 17 for the Bronx is pretty much exactly the same. I might swap some players around in positions, but apart from that, it's pretty much the same. I think with the depth they got, they're gonna have a good season. The Bronx, I'm not gonna lie.
Looking at my team now, the only change I would make, I think I would start David Fafita, and I think I'd bring Alex Glenn off the bench because if you look at the forward pack on the bench, they're all very inexperienced.
I was thinking that too. And I think Offahan Gowie's going to play Origin, so it gives blokes like Payne Haas and,
Jaden
Sewer and stuff a chance to start. Yeah. I'm sure they'll switch and combine throughout the year, but I think that's set in stone, that team. That will be the round one side.
Interesting looking at their notable players too now. Jordan Carr, who's obviously a big exclusion. Patrick Mago has NRL experience. Sean O'Sullivan, I think he plays definitely at some stage through the year.
He'll get a bit through Origin and Test, I think.
Definitely. Andre Civilio. This is an interesting one because he was the English Super League's SBW, came over here, did his ACL. We didn't see much of him. And some veterans in Sam Tagatese and Sean Fenson, which they are really going to need those two to stand up and show they can still play good footy in the Origin period.
I agree, 100%. And I think Civilio was very unlucky. I reckon he would have gotten some game time, and if he makes his debut this year, hats off to him. Awesome stuff.
Definitely agree. Next team, Canterbury Bulldogs. I think Nick Maney from the Newcastle Knights starts at fullback there. I think Christian Crichton, Remy Smith on the wings, Hopewadi, Carrot Holland centres, halves, Lachlan Lewis, Kieran Foran. I think their forward pack, 8 to 13, is Napa, Leisha, Tolman, Jackson, Martin, Fartala Mariner. I think their bench utilities, Jeremy Marshall King. I think other players off the bench are Elliott, Fualalo, and Corey Hara. We were at Naira. Do you agree with my team? Would you make any changes to that? This is a side where they have a young, exciting forward pack, so you can chop and change that, and I would almost agree with any forward pack you put up.
I think Michael Leash has had about 3 chances to stake his claim, and he just hasn't done it. I think he should be in the notables, obviously get game time throughout the season. I'd put Marshall King at 9,
Okay.
He had a good year there last year.
My only problem is I just don't know if he can defend in the middle for the full 80.
Yeah, that's it. And but you've got blokes like New Brown as well.
Yeah.
Alicia, you could play off the bench. Just gives him that clarity in defence. If Marshall King's, can't defend. If Marshall King can't defend in the middle, and Lockie Lewis goes down, Marshall King to 7, Leisha or New Brown to 9. It's pretty simple. And I think Jack Cogger, they said that he got the starting when he signed with the Dogs last year. I think they said that he's the 100% starter. Yeah, I think Lockie Lewis has staked his claim. He's a bright future.
This is an unpopular opinion, and I don't know if it'll happen or not. But I think at some stage in the year, Dean Pay will experiment. Kieran Foran will move to starting hooker. Jack Cogger will start at halfback.
Yeah, I don't know. Anything's possible in that team, man.
I just don't. I think Dean Pay is. You have to remember he's not the one that signed Foran for $1 million. So he is going to get frustrated very quick if he doesn't live up to that payday. He's not going to be able to release him because no one else is going to sign Foran for probably half of that.
Name your bench again. 1 sec.
Yeah, Jeremy Marshall-King, Adam Elliott, Danny Fualalo, Corey Harawira and Naira. Obviously, in reserves there, Jesse Sue could potentially step up and take that bench spot.
I was going to say Chris Smith. I know no one really knows much about him. Mate, I watched the Intrust Premiership final last year, the state final. I think he crossed for 2 tries or something. And the work he does on the field, outside of the field, on extras, he does extras all the time. I've personally had the chance to, talk to Chris and get to know him a bit. And he's just one of the hardest workers. He's a humble bloke. He can play footy. Yeah. And there's blokes there like, what's his name? Renoff Tuomega. He's an absolute weapon. And if those blokes don't get game time at any stage this year, Dean Pay, he should reconsider.
Yeah, he does have a bit of depth and a fair few options there. As you said, Chris Smith is a pretty gun player. He just, I think if he's given the chance to lock down, he will. Let's look at Cowboys now. I think the Cowboys come close to the top 4 this year. I think that's a bit of an unpopular opinion, but I do think with that squad, with Michael Morgan back, that they will be pretty good. From 1 to 17, Barber, Geller Mosby, O'Neill, McDonald, Felt, Clifford, Morgan, Maguire, Granville, McLean, Cooper, Asiata, Tamalaulo, Tamir Martin, Matty Scott, Cohen Hess, Scott, Bolton. Now, this is a team with a pretty good depth. And what changes would you make to that team, if any?
I don't know if most people would agree with this, but I'd actually move Nene to the wing. I'd put Opachik at 3.
Yep.
3 with O'Neill. Or maybe even get rid of it. Like, O'Neill's had a good run. He was a bit hot and cold last year. Maybe swap him and Geller Mosby in the centres, because I've heard Geller Mosby's very good in centre. Only time will tell. I'd personally... it's hard to say between Tamari Martin and Jake Clifford. They're both great players, but I'd probably...
So, the way I look at this, Jake Clifford is a better, younger player.
Yeah.
He does have, I think, more potential than Tamir Martin. But we can't forget the partnership he had with Michael Morgan in 2017. They weren't even expected to make the 8, let alone play the grand final.
Exactly. And I think a bloke you need to have on the bench, get rid of don't get rid of him. That's harsh. Replace him with Kurt Baptiste. I think he's got a lot of experience.
Yep. I'm still not convinced Jake Granville's an 80-minute hooker.
I'm not either. And he can do the job. You've seen he can do the job. You can tell he gets very tired in the ruck and very tired.
His running game disappears, doesn't it?
Yeah, and Baptiste, look at him. He's played for about 4 or 5 clubs, so he's a bit of a journeyman, but he can get the job done. And from what I've seen, he's a great bench utility. And you've seen in the past, coming off the bench for the Raiders, obviously with Hodgson there, he can get the job done, even if it's for 15 or 20 minutes. He's still going to get a bit of game time, I believe.
Yep, definitely agree. The reason I put Nene McDonald at centre, which is a little bit unpopular with people inside Kyle Felt, is when you think of players that are great under the high ball, you think of those two, right?
Yeah.
Both phenomenal under the high ball. And I can really see Michael Morgan making that right wing a target of his with crossfield bombs on the last tackle. Not a lot of centre or wingers are going to want to go up and contest against those two. They're going to want to sort of, stay back, wait for their feet to land, then make the tackle. The way I see it, Ben Barber starts floating out that way on the last. Michael Morgan, Clifford put the kick out. Both of the big men go up. If Barber gets the tap back, we know how elusive he is. He's a good chance to score. If the other team, in some way, which is unlikely, but they do beat them and get the ball, and they were to get past them because they're contesting it also, then Barber's right there behind, ready to make that tackle.
That's true. I think, but I mean, from judging by last year and when he was at the Titans, Nene was a winger. Nene played a few games for the Titans in centre, and I don't think he played any for the Dragons. But you've seen what he can do on the wing. You've seen what he can do in centre. You can play him pretty much anywhere in the back line. If Barber goes down, you've got a bloke to go fullback. I think if you've got him to cover wing, centre and fullback, if need be, that's...
Yeah. I'm just looking at the chat now. Hess over Asiata. Hess over Asiata, surely. Switch Morgan and Clifford. Asiata is overrated. The reason I put Hess on the bench was he plays his best footy off the bench for me. He always has played his best footy off the bench, whether it's in Origin or it was for the Cowboys 2015-16 when he was scoring all those tries.
And the thing with Asiata is, I know I'm talking a lot about if blokes go down and get injured, but you've seen him play in the six. So Morgan was gone for half the season last year, and I know that they're going to go for the obvious Tamari Martin.
But it does help.
The void, but if you need, John Asiata can play in the six. He played, and when he played, he was very good as well.
Yeah, it does help having that back row with ball playing skills.
Yeah, exactly.
We see it at the Sharks with Wade Graham. It's very effective.
Personally, I'd have Hess starting, but Asiata, he's a big body. He'll get tired very easily. Same with Hess. So either if they switch, they're both going to make the same impact.
Exactly. And just imagine this. So Josh Maguire goes off, Jordan McLean goes off, and let's say John Asiata goes off. Usually that's three big names where you're like, whoa, what's going to happen here? Well, you've got Matt Scott, Scott Bolton, and Cohen Hess replacing them. It's not really... I don't want to use the word downgrade, but it's not really a step back in experience or skill off the bench, as a lot of teams do have to revert to.
I mean, Taumalolo, he's going to need a rest eventually throughout the year. So it's good that they've got Maguire at prop. So Taumalolo needs a rest. Maguire can shift to 13. They can bring Bolton or Scott into 10.
Yep.
And it's just good they've got that clarity there. They've got that. They've got good attack, good defense in the forward pack. They're going to have a great season next year. If they don't come close to winning the grand final, I don't know. They're a class side next year.
Premiership winning coach, great spine, great team. Speaking of great teams and great spines, let's move on to the St. George Illawarra Dragons. Now, looking at my team now, I've got Widdop at fullback. And I've done that so Corey Norman and Ben Hunt can start to build their partnership early. That gives them a year advance for when Widdop leaves. I've got Jordan Pereira and Zach Lomax on the wings. My centres are Aitken and Laffey. I do see that changing through the year if their form slump continues. Front row is Vaughan, McInnes, James Graham. Back row, Frizzell, Tariq Sims. Now I have Corbin Sims at lock. That's assuming Jack DeBellin is suspended for a period of time. Likely would be from round 1 onwards if he was to get suspended. I've got Jai Field as my bench utility. Lattimore, Leishiano Leilua, and Blake Laurie on the bench.
That's a good side. I make a few changes.
Yeah.
I believe. Personally, I would have Norman at fullback. I understand Norman and Hunt were the halves at Brisbane. And like you said, it's good to give Norman and Hunt that experience before Widdop leaves. Yeah. I think Widdop can cover fullback and in the halves as well. Same with Norman. Ben Hunt, he can cover hooker if need be. But personally, I'd have Norman back at fullback. When he was going through that bit of slump of form through the season at Para, they shifted him to fullback. He got the job done. He played very well. But then again, I'd do the same with Widdop. I'd have him at back as well. I'd have Norman out back, but They could put Widdop there. He's going to go, so it gives, like you said, the halves a good experience to re-gel. I'd actually have Jonas Pearson on one of the wings. I'd shift. Actually,
it's so tough, isn't it? I want Jonas Pearson that side also. A lot of the chat are saying leave Dufty at fullback or put Dufty on the wing. Do you think there's room for Dufty in this side? I just can't see him fitting in.
Yeah, I can't.
Unless it's at 14, but then again, I don't really see the utility value.
I can't see it, man. He's going to get better market value at another club, if I'm being honest. He's an absolute gun of a player, and it's hard to say, I think. Yeah.
Well, the Norman signing was good.
Lachlan Maranta, who they've signed as well, he used to play for the Broncos.
Yeah.
They've got him there. I don't know if he'll get much game time. I think Jonas Pearson will get a bit, but Pereira and Lomax on the wings fair. UNA can spend a lot of time out of the squad towards the back end, so they can put Lomax there and experiment with Pearson and Maranta and other blokes. But I think that forward pack's good. Maybe Corbin Sims at lock. I wouldn't know. But if I'd have him off the bench, and I'd change Jai Field. He's a great star. He's a rising star. But I'd actually have Reece Robson in 14.
Someone else has said that, and I actually didn't put him on my notables either, so I feel bad now. But
it gives McInnes the chance to have a rest, have a breather, and he can go to 13 as well if they want to get Robson on. And it gives DeBellin a rest, gives Corbin Sims a rest. It's a great side. They got some great players. Jacob Host, I'd have him in the squad somewhere. He was unlucky last year. I think he played one game and got injured. And I think they've got a good side. They just got to back it up and not let this talk of, how they're chokers and stuff, not let that get to them, because if they follow that, that's going to affect their season majorly.
I've done a couple player Q&As with Jordan Pereira, Jeremy Lattimore, and Zach Lomax, and all three of them seem to say that the vibe at training is they believe they can go all the way this year. They believe that issue's resolved, and they do believe that they're a big chance to win.
Yeah, and honestly, I think I know a lot of people might disagree, but I think Dragons have one of the most class teams in the comp. You look at Corey Norman; he's an absolute weapon. Ben Hunt, when he was at the Bronx, he was a weapon. He had a bit of a rough year last year. He was pretty good in patches. Widdop is one of the best players in the whole game at the moment. And, they're young blokes coming through. Their forward pack, DeBellin, Frizzell, they've got a very good team. So if they don't let that affect them, they're going to have a good year next year, I believe.
Definitely. Even with if Jack DeBellin is suspended, they do have the depth, as we see there. Let's move on to our next team. Last year's Wooden Spooners, a team that desperately needs to improve. A team that has made some good signings in Ferguson, Paulo, and Sean Lane. And this is my predicted 17 from top to bottom. Clint Gutherson. Wingers, Ferguson, George Jennings. Centres, Takarangi and Michael. Halves, Dylan Brown, Mitch Moses. Front row, Alvaro, Pritchard, and Junior Paulo. Back row, Ma'u, Lane, Brown. Bench, Mahoney, Manna, Taripo, and Tepai Maroa. Now, looking at that squad now, what are your thoughts? Would you make any changes?
I find Taripo as a starter. I think I'd change him for. I think Alvaro's impact off the bench. Second to none. I think I'd if I'm being honest, I'd swap Taripo out for Alvaro, or he can play anywhere in the forwards, I think.
I really like that idea, actually. I do like that idea a lot for the Eels.
I like Taripo. I reckon he's a great player. That's a great team. You've got blokes like I've had a blank. Dylan Brown. He's from what I've heard, he's going to be a great player. And the Warriors were chasing him hard last year.
Obviously for a reason. And how many times do we see a young star that hasn't even made his NRL debut yet, where a club releases a statement saying he is not available?
Exactly.
We don't see that for players that haven't debuted yet. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen it before.
Yeah, he's a rising star. Personally, if I'm being honest, I've never heard of him until all this talk came about. So he must be a pretty good kid. If he's destined to make his debut, they've got I think his name's Ray Stone.
Yep.
He's he debuted last year. He can fill the halves and hooker. Mahoney is a gun. I think him coming off the bench gives it that bit of, gives him that bit of leeway, as well as having Pritchard.
A running half, yeah.
Especially Pritchard's very injury prone, not going to lie. He's been injured the last couple of seasons. So if he goes down, Mahoney, Ray Stone. He debuted last year. What's his name?
Oregon Kafusi?
Oregon Kafusi, yeah. I'd have him there. That bloke. I think he's 19 and he's the size of Goliath.
Yeah, he was good.
It'd be crazy not to have him in your squad.
If Pritchard goes down injured, I think it's a bit of an easy switch. I think Mahoney starts in that case, and Will Smith, I think, comes into the 14 jumper.
He was a bit hard done by last year.
He's a great player, but he's too versatile to lock down a spot.
Exactly, and he can play anywhere. That's the thing. So you could put him in at lock if you needed to. You could put him in at 5'8", fullback, wing, centre. In the halves, hooker, he can play anywhere. But the thing is, they've got such a good squad and players who have already covered that position that there's just nowhere for him.
Exactly, 100%. It's a real problem a lot of players have this year. They are almost victims of their own versatility. As we move on to our next team, a team with a lot of depth, a team we spoke about earlier when we were covering the latest news. Let's go to the Newcastle Knights, the boys from the Hunter. Fullback, Connor Watson. Wings, Nathan Ross, SKD. Tautau Moga, Jesse Ramey in your centres. With a new halves pairing of Kalen Ponga, Mitchell Pearce. How about this front row? David Clemmer, Danny Levi, Herman SASA. Our back row is Fitzgibbon, Guerra and Barnett. With the very versatile Kurt Mann on the bench. Gave, Glasby, Sione Mataudia. Some notable players, and I'm saying notable. These guys are outside the top 17. A lot of them would be inside the top 17 of a lot of other NRL clubs. We've got Jamie Buhrer, Hymel Hunt, Josh King, Edric Lee, Mason Lino, Saifidi brothers. Jacob is obviously injured at the moment. Zach Wolford and Slade Griffin also to return from injury at some stage in 2019. I think we spoke about this one earlier in the show, or maybe we were talking about it before we went live, but what changes would you make in this side?
This is a very up and down side because I've spoken to a lot of people that have different opinions on this squad. Kurt Mann, I think, was signed as a 9. I can't see him playing 9.
Neither.
I don't know why they'd sign a bench utility who plays on the wing at fullback in the halves as a 9.
Yeah, I can't agree with that either.
Specifically for the fact that they signed him to play hooker. Leaves Danny Levi sort of out of the squad. I respect Levi. I reckon he's got a great work ethic, but I think he just needs to improve on a bit.
Yep.
I'd keep Ponga at fullback. His breakout this year was at fullback. No one's really seen him play at 6. It's like Moylan. When Moylan moved to 6,
yeah,
not as good as what he was when personally at fullback. I think keep Ponga at 1. That's where he shines. I really, really like Mason Lino. I really do. I think Lino and Pearce would kill it in the halves.
And Lino's a better goal kicker than Ponga. He kicks at a much higher percentage.
And I can't really... I love the Ross dog, but he's got a... death wish. I think he's got to play a few great games, or else Edric Lee's going to take that spot. And you've seen it Cronulla with Edric Lee and Ramey the centre and wing combo. They are deadly. Like, they are dangerous. And
I didn't think of that at all when I named this. And now you say that, I think Nathan Ross is a bit more of a consistent player. Yeah. I think Edric Lee is a bit better, a bit more X factor, a bit more powerful ball runner than Ross.
And he always has a go, Lee. That's what I admire about a lot of players is he always has a go.
Yeah.
He'll get snapped, but he'll get back up.
With what you're saying, maybe Edric Lee does go outside Jesse Ramey, and so they're keeping that combination between the two. Obviously, not starting a fresh combo. That you make a very good point there, and something I had not considered until this moment.
Mate, I'm telling you, I think Nathan Brown made the best decision in signing Ramey, and I reckon he's probably one of the best signings this year.
Yeah,
I feel he has a bright future.
I think he knows it too.
He absolutely killed it this year. and he was an absolute weapon of a player.
Yeah.
And if I were the Knights, I'd be locking him up long term.
Yeah,
Front rowers, obviously, what we talked about earlier. You've got those versatile players. You've got Gave, you've got SASA, Glasby. I rate Glasby highly. I reckon Glasby's one of the most underrated players in the whole game. He can come on, keep the squad cool and calm, as well as SASA, who both have cool heads, whereas Clemmer and Gave are a bit more aggressive and like to, play with mongrel, which is a great thing for a team.
Overall, pretty good team there. Let's move to Manly, a team not expected to do too much this year. However, what the Manly boys are telling me is they really think they're going to do well under Des Hasler, and I can confirm through talking to other players from the Super League that Des Hasler is definitely a coach if they were to come to the NRL, they want to play under. Can't obviously name specific names there, but if you look up English Super League players and I'm the only NRL thing they're following, then you can figure it out from there. Do your research if you're interested. Let's look at the Manly Seagulls. We got Tom Trbojevic, fullback, no-brainer. Wings, George Tafua, Albert Hopewade. Centres, Sully Parker. Halves, LG, DCE. Front row, AFB, Coruscant, Tapau. Back row, Sirinen, Thompson, Tom Trbojevic. Bench, now I do have Trent Hodkinson there, but I'd like to change that to Marnus Fainu. And I think that he has a bit more upside to his career. And I think if you're Manly, you're not looking to re-sign Hodkinson after this contract, so I would only use him if I needed. I would definitely play Fainu, who he hasn't officially re-signed it with the club yet, but I can tell you all he has. There's no official announcement from the Manly Seagulls, but I can tell you all right now he has been re-signed until the end of the 2021 season, whereas Hodkinson's off contract this year. So you look to your future for me. And, on the bench also, I always pronounce this guy's name wrong, man. Gosowski? Gosowski?
Jivski, I think. I think it's just...
Jivski, yeah. It's a tough one to pronounce. Let's just call him Jack. Jack's a good player. He's a great player. And, if he wasn't behind Murray and Burgess at the Rabbitohs, he probably would have stayed there. But, understandably he moved. They're two great players. Kalepi Tanganoa and Frank Winterstein. Would you make any... Actually, another change I'd like to make. I would like to take Winterstein out of the 17 jumper and put Tanelia Paseka up there. He recently re-signed with the club, indicating he is in their future plans. And I would take Brad Parker out of centre and put Brendan Elliott there.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, Elliott is a very versatile player.
Yep.
You've seen him at the Roosters, you've seen him at the Knights, and he didn't get much time at the Titans, which is disappointing. I believe he's got a head for footy. He knows his way around the field, whether it's at fullback, wing, or in centre. I believe centre is his best position. Brad Parker, I haven't really seen much from him to agree that he'd be the starting centre next year.
I don't usually rag on NRL players.
I
don't want to, put... I would certainly not put this out on my page as an opinion. I will say it here because obviously there is a much smaller audience that tune in for this. He's not NRL standard. He's simply too small. He's not the fastest bloke. It's tough, but it's the truth. And, he's just not NRL standard.
I'm not gonna slag on him or anything like that either. But I think a player of his caliber would be much suited to Super League or something along those lines. I think, like you said, he's a great. Like everyone who plays in the NRL are fantastic players, but each player has their own different
strengths and weaknesses.
So I think Brad Parker, if he gets game time, good luck to him. I personally can't see that happening.
Yep.
Elliott's a great fit. Elliott and LG both have both played together. They both know their way around the field, so their side's going to be good if they're on the same side. One thing I would change, I'd have Fainu on the bench. He's got a bright future.
Yeah, I can't believe I can do that.
For Fainu, even if he doesn't get picked, as well as Tanelia Paseka, if they don't get picked, they've got the next 3 years.
How big is that guy, Tanelia Paseka?
They're not going anywhere. So one thing I would do is, but there's a bloke that Manly have signed called Corey Waddell or something.
Yep.
From Penrith, and from what I've heard, he is an absolute workhorse. That bloke, he does the most extras. He's always first to training, last to leave. Works the hardest, and apparently his work ethic's crazy. And he's a versatile second rower. He runs a mad unders line and a mad overs.
Yeah,
he's a great. I'd have him in my team somewhere. You'd be crazy not to.
On Tanili Paseka again. Now, I know he's huge, but I wanted to find out just how big. I'm on the official Manly website here. 21 years old, bro.
Yeah.
197 centimeters, 120 kilos. This dude is, he's up there with Shannon Boyd and Sam Cassiano. I think Sam was about 130, but he's up there the same size as Shannon Boyd at 21 years old. And this photo here, I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the screen, guys, but he looks like a giant out there against children. Right. This dude, if he can keep his fitness up and stay healthy, he is going to be very, very good in 2019.
Oh, yeah. And Paseka, like I said, if he doesn't he'll get a start at some stage, no doubt about it. But if he doesn't, like I said, he's got the next 2-3 years. He's going to be a star of the game. He's not going anywhere. So you can't argue with that. That's a fair side. Personally, I don't think Manly are going to have a great year. But from what I've heard, I've got contacts who are deep involved with Manly. And from what I hear, I believe that every player that's played under Des Hasler absolutely respects him, absolutely is just amazed at the way he coaches and loves him as a bloke, loves him as a coach. And I feel that every player, that's played under him,
he'll get the best out of him. And if he doesn't get the best out of this team, I think they've only re-signed 8 or 9 players of their top 30 plus 2019.
Fairly young squad, so a lot of them have got a lot to learn, and Desi can give that to him. So definitely. I reckon that's a great fit, having Desi back at Manly.
As you said, young spines need great spines to gel. Tom Trbojevic, LG, DCE, Appy, Coruscant. Tom Trbojevic, Australian Kangaroos player. DCE, Australian Kangaroos. Appy, Fiji, LG, Australian junior. It's a pretty strong spine.
I'll just say one thing quickly before we move on. LG's going to learn a lot under Daly Cherry Evans.
Yeah,
I think he was a bit hard done by the Titans. Obviously with Brimson coming in and all that, but when he started his first year at the Titans, when he debuted, I think it was 2015. I would have his standard of playing. I would have considered him Queensland standard, and I know that's probably silly to say, but he has a great work ethic, and he played from round, I think, 3 to the whole season. Unfortunately, he did his ACL, which obviously lowered a lot of his confidence. But I think he's going to learn a lot off DCE.
He almost went to Manly a couple of years ago, but he stayed true to the Titans. Yeah. Now he has a big chance, like you said, to learn under the Australian halfbackers. I've got something in my bloody eye. Let's move on to the Penrith Panthers. Dylan Edwards, DWZ, Wonga Blake, Dean Farray, Josh Mansour, James Maloney, Nathan Cleary, Regan Campbell-Gillard, Wade Egan, James Tarmow, Isaiah Yeo, Viliami Kickout, James Fisher-Harris. I just said 13 of the best players in our game in one breath. What a great team. And let's look at their bench. Soni Katoa, Moses Leota, Jack Hetherington, and Hame Sele.
Yeah,
now, they've got a bit of depth. They've got a lot of great stars coming through the ranks. Any changes that are jumping out at you straight away?
I'd stick with that team, if I'm being honest. Mate, I've predicted from, obviously it hasn't happened, but I've predicted from, I think, a few years ago, to now, Penrith are they're not the team I support, obviously, but they're one of my favourite teams in the whole comp from the way they work, their ethic, that they're very versatile. All their players do the job and get it done. And if they don't win the comp this year, it's going to happen soon. They've been my pick to win the comp for the past couple of years, and each year they keep getting closer. There's some things that they do get a bit a bit sidetracked. Some games, easy games that they lose, hard games that they win. They're a lot like that, but they're my tip to win the comp. If not this year, in the coming years, that they stick with that one side.
They're the sort of team too that can have a poor start, but they've shown they're the comeback kings.
They are.
Holy cow. I'll never forget when they came back against the Titans.
Yeah.
I cried for a little bit, and then I got in the car and went and bought a family box from McDonald's and sat in my room and ate that for the rest of the night. Very upsetting night.
Always the way to cure sadness.
Oh, mate, you can't go past the family dinner box. $20, great variety. Maccas, if you're interested in sponsoring the podcast, hit me up with a message, and maybe me and Charlie can sit here and have a couple Big Macs while we deliver this show. Let's move on to our next team, the boys from the capital, the ACT. Canberra Raiders. We've got Jack Whiten returning at fullback, Kotrick and Michael Oldfield wings. Obviously, the partner is out injured. Round 13 is his return he's aiming for. Croker Lewis centres, halves Caesar Williams. Front row, Sia Soliola, Josh Hodgson, Ryan Sutton. Josh Papali and Elliott Whitehead back row to Pane at lock. Saliva Havili, Emre Gula, John Bateman, Dynamis Louis. Now, with this team, yesterday, NRL.com expert Jamie Soward, he said Jack Whiten on the wing. And I didn't mean to offend him, but I simply said it. Okay, I might have went a bit over the top. I said it's the most idiotic thing I've read this off season. A lot of people agree with me, and Jamie Soward was very unhappy. As I can see, he's deleted his comments now off my page. But yeah, I got into a little bit of an argument with Soward yesterday. He said I was picking on him, and I was like, how do you make this about you? You know, it's about your opinion on the game and my opinion on the game being different. One thing he did say, which I obviously enjoyed, he also had a problem with people like paying out him for his defense. And I was like, mate, you've won a premiership ring. Like, just upload a photo like with your finger up with the ring on, like to back to people. Like, people can't
pay for his state as well. You can't knock him, mate.
Yeah. So he said, Clarkie, I was serious. I'll be reading your stuff. I don't mind the banter. It's what makes our game. It's just hard from someone I don't know. Good luck for the year, mate. And, you know, mate, I pretty much said to him, you're looking into this too much. But I want to ask you, does Jack Whiten, does he make sense on the wing for you, or was that very silly by Soward?
Before I say that, I got to say, Soward, if you hear this, mate, you're in the media. You're going to cop criticism from people you don't know. Don't be ridiculous. This is the point of Instagram and social media and being in the tabloids. Mate, you're going to cop flack from people.
I do feel for him. It is hard to do.
But don't take it to heart. You're a news reporter. That's your job. People have got to comment on that. I personally am a bit on the fence with this, given Jack Whiten his spot in the team. You don't know what's happened yet. I really like Brad Abbey. I'd have Brad Abbey at fullback. Still has a spot in the team. You could play him in the halves. I mean, he started his career on the wing and in centre. You can move him in the centres as well. Michael Oldfield, he's got experience, but he's a journeyman. He'll do the job for you, but Abbey can fill the wing as well. We haven't seen much of Abbey on the wing.
Yeah.
But Abbey could fill the job on the wing.
The reason I sort of want Jack Whiten at fullback was before he got suspended last season, he led the NRL, or he was second in the NRL fullbacks for try assists.
Yeah.
He can't produce those try assists from the wing, unfortunately, so I think he has to remain there. Onto their forward pack, any changes you'd make there? Because I know a couple of people are saying potentially Papali moves to the front row, Ryan Sutton to the bench with John Bateman starting alongside his best mate from the UK, also Elliott Whitehead. That's a change I'd be open to.
I'd actually start the two Poms in front row. I know people probably think it's ridiculous, but you know, with the Sutton and Bateman, both 8 and 10, you got Hodgson at 9. You've got Papali, Whitehead, second row, and I'd have Soliola at lock. That way, giving the bench Luke Bateman, Dynamis Louis, who else? Joe Tarpany,
Mm-hmm.
and Gula, whoever else you could fit in that squad.
Yeah.
I think, like I said, Tarpany's got a big future. If he doesn't crack a starting spot this year, he shouldn't be hard on himself. He's got a bright future in the game.
Yeah, definitely agree with what you're saying.
He's got a great impact off the bench. I rate their bench. Dynamis Louis, obviously great player. Same with Luke Bateman, who, as well as if one of the front rowers need a break, you can easily shift Bateman to front row, or Papali can go. Tarpany can go to lock, as well as Havili. Havili's the last one I have.
Havili, yeah,
Hodgson needs to keep going. You can put Havili at lock, who can cover that position as well. Obviously, all the forwards can cover every forward position. So, yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of players coming in and out of the squad throughout the year. They're going to trial them, but I think that's probably my squad at least.
Just quickly in the chat, I can see Zico Codex. Could you talk to me about your thoughts on league expansion? I think the eighth immortal Joey Johns said it best, man. There's not enough talent in the NRL at the moment. Joey thinks the level of competition's dropped off. I probably agree. I don't think now is the right time for an expansion. However, in saying that, I would like to see a Perth team eventually. I know the travel would be a bit annoying. Ideally, if I ran the NRL and I was feeling, pretty ballsy, I would, instead of having the current NRL teams, I'd go like an in-trust premiership teams. I'd bump them up to NRL teams. New South Wales in-trust, and I'd have a North and a South, or a Queensland and New South Wales conference, similar to what's in like the NFL in America, because it just creates so much more excitement around finals times.
I think we should take a page out of the Super League's book, because they've got 3 comps and they're all still professional. Like, they got League 1, League 2, Super League.
Yeah. Super League, Kingston Rover, League 1, and then another one, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like, I'd be happy to see that, as well as Eastern Western Conference. Like, you know what I mean, in the NFL and NBA.
I would love if we had a relegation system.
Also, quickly, I know this has nothing to do with it, but the NRL needs to get onto a draft system. That's
and the issue with that is, our clubs raise the talent and they bring them up to the NRL, whereas in NBA, I'll just use NBA for an example, you're playing for a college which is external to any NBA team. So, the Broncos, for example, would be reluctant to scout a 13-year-old, nurture him through high school, get him to 17 years old. This kid is our halfback, we want him. But the Titans, hope this never happens again, the Titans finish last, so they get the number 1 draft pick. All of a sudden, this kid just a slight move down the highway, and all of a sudden the Broncos are like, well, what did we spend the last 5 years developing you for? You give us nothing to our club, so it's a tough
crazy
one.
Things happened. It's rugby league, mate. So
yeah, exactly. This is a crazy game. The greatest game of all as we move on to the Sydney Roosters. Tedesco, Morris, Manu, Mitchell, Tupou, Keary, Cronk, JWH, Friend, Takiaho, Cordner, Crichton, new recruit, Isaac Leo, Victor Radley off the bench, Mitch Orbison, Lindsay Collins, Zane Tedavano. Any changes that are screaming out at you at the moment?
Only thing I'd make is I wouldn't sign a player from England on the money he's been given if he wasn't going to get a start. So obviously I'd have Ryan Hall in there somewhere. Obviously from what I've heard Tupou wasn't going to get a start this year. That could change again. Hall's just done his knee, so therefore that could put him out for a while. Mm-hmm. Could be a big confidence issue the Roosters are having with him. I reckon Tupou will be in the squad round 1, but Ryan Hall will get there eventually in the squad. I'd move probably Tedavano's. I think shown he can do a very good job as a starter. I'd move him into the front row. Obviously, you've got JWH there. You've also got some other notable players in the squad, but I think Tedavano deserves a starting spot somewhere.
It's just hard because
you've got
Takiaho is he also offers a second goal kicking for them. I think he rates a little higher than Tedovano. The only reason now, I agree with what you're saying about Ryan Hall. I think he definitely will be there. But in my opinion, I've put Brett Morris there, and that's because Morris plays fullback also. And James Tedesco will be gone for State of Origin, most likely. So you have someone who has a bit of team cohesion rather than Morris playing reserve grade and then coming into the new team and playing fullback in a crucial time as State of Origin. So
then again, you wouldn't bring an English player out of his comfort zone to a whole new country just for him to get paid big bucks to play reserve grade. So
yeah, look, he will be there. He will be there, but I think it makes more sense to keep it makes more sense for Morris for me. But
I'm talking about Tupou. I think Tupou would make way if Ryan Hall was to come into the squad. I think Morris
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that happening. The only thing is they're breaking the combination between Tupou and Latrell. Obviously, you want to keep Latrell playing his best. So the Roosters do have a bit of a headache on their hands there. Radley off the bench. You like that?
Radley off the bench. Oh, I don't know. I think who'd you have at 13?
Isaac Liu.
Oh,
it's tough, isn't it?
Hey, Liu's played off the bench and he's got great impact wherever he plays. I'd personally have I don't know. Radley's got the stuff to be a starter, 100%.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to run at that bloke's shoulder.
The reason I've got Radley at 14 is because he can also play a bit of hooker. Well, I think he actually is a hooker. He's just started playing back row.
The Roosters have developed him into a lock second row. So, I mean, if I personally was Radley, I'd be talking to the coach saying, mate, keep me at hooker because I don't want to play any other position. This is the position I like to play. But then again, Radley could like playing in the forwards. He gets to tackle more. He can absolutely flog blokes, and that's what he loves to do. So
the Roosters have a pretty good side and a lot of headaches, but headaches you'd rather have as the coach than not have. As we move on to the Cronulla Sharks, another team we spoke about earlier. Matt Moylan fullback, Katoa Feki on the wings, Morris Dugan in the centres, Johnson Townsend halves, Fafita, Brayley and Pryor is your front row. Back row, Bakuya, Capewell, Gallen. Bench, I think Blake Brayley may be ready for the step up to first grade. Scott Sorensen, Aaron Woods, Ava Siamunga Fanai. Obviously, there's a lot of great talent there, like Kyle Flanagan, Bronson Zeri, Braden Ueli, Aaron Gray. Any changes that scream out to you straight away, or?
Yeah, I'm not saying this because I've met him. Bronson Zeri deserves this spot. That bloke's got the world at his feet. I think he deserves a spot in there somewhere, whether it be starting throughout the year or starting come round one. That's fair, I believe. Absolute gun. Rate Braden Ueli, I reckon he's been a bit unlucky not to get game time.
He's like a junior Fafita, isn't he? Like a little tank with a great offload.
I think he's 25 or something, and I think he's played 3 first grade games. And I think from his caliber, he should be playing a lot more and a lot more minutes as well. Brayley's definitely made the shown his worth. I think he'll be ready come round one to debut. Only thing I'd do is I move Johnson to 7, Chad to 6. Obviously, they've played together. They've both got a great combination.
They've played together, and that's how they did play. So that does make
Townsend
sense.
Can play either 5'8" or 7, but personally, I can't see Johnson being a 6. He's played 7 his whole career.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that change. I definitely agree with that change. Our next team, South Sydney Rabbitohs.
Oh, this will be good.
Yeah, why'd you take down the jersey behind you?
Oh, I didn't want to show bias.
Okay. So we got... Before we start, I've got Corey Allen at fullback, and I don't want to reveal who, but a source has revealed to me that is close to the South Logan Magpies that they were very unimpressed with his work ethic last year in games. He was hooked in one game, I was told. He was sent to the wing on another. And apparently at the Brisbane Broncos, when he chose to sign for South Logan in 2018, he got a blasting by Bennett. So I thought him moving to Rabbitohs would be good because he'd be working with his previous coach. So I guess the question is now, was the blasting from Bennett because he rates him so highly, he wanted him in his Broncos top 30? Or was the blasting because, he thinks he handled it unprofessionally or whatever, and could that affect his selection chances? Regardless of that, I have him at fullback. I have Alex Johnston and Campbell Graham on the wings. I have Greg Inglis and Dane Guy in centres. Halves, Walker, Reynolds. Front row, Tom Burgess, Damien Cook, Junior Totola. Now, suspended is George Burgess for the eye gouge on DWZ in the England game. Back row, Sutton, Burgess. I've put Ken Murray starting this year at lock. I tipped Sam Burgess to move up to second row for him. Bench, Adam Dewey, Mark Nichols, Liam Knight, new signing from the Raiders, Kyle Turner. Not too much depth here, man. We've got Dean Britt, Braden Burns, Corey Dennis, and Matt McKilrick.
Yeah, only thing I do, I think Kyle Turner, I haven't seen enough from him. Obviously, he was a part of the 2014 Premiership squad, but since then, he's just been very quiet. I wouldn't have him in my squad. I'd have Allen at fullback. Obviously, he's got to work hard. You've got to have a great work ethic to be a rugby league player, especially in the NRL. Johnson on the wing, Campbell Graham. I think that's going to pose a very good edge both sides, especially with Inglis and Gagai in the centres playing next to both of them. Halves stay the same. Keep the brothers in prop.
Yeah, once he obviously returns,
Hooker Cook. Dean Britt's got to get his shot at some stage. Only problem is I can't see Cook not playing 80 minutes, and I can't see him moving either. I can't see him chipping a lock for a game. So unless Britt knows how to play in the halves and someone goes down.
Yeah. Even Matt McKilrick as well. I don't see a pathway for Matt McKilrick back into the NRL with that club.
I think for the Souths, the worst thing they could do for a player's career is sign a hooker. With Cook's locked in for the next 5 years, you'd think that would be his career. I think he's 28 or 27. I think that would be his career done after that. But then again, signing a player for 3 years, who's a hooker? Touch wood. I don't touch wood. I hope Cook doesn't get injured. But then again, he'll be good over Origin period. Obviously, they had Farah last year, but this year, I can't see unless Britt. I'd really love to see Britt get his shot. I've followed him for a very long time, and I'd love to see him get his shot. I think if the halves go down, they've got Dewey to replace them. If they don't go with Dewey, they've got Connor Tracy, who also deserves his shot. They got a lot there. I wouldn't have Kyle Turner in the squad, but I'd go for someone.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Junior Totola, I'd have Knight on the bench as well. Tavita Totola.
Yeah.
Who else did you say?
Well, I've got Junior Totola at number 10. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know whether people know him better as Junior or Tavita.
Either, I think.
Yeah. Regardless, this is a team that for me is down on depth at the moment. Regardless, I still see them a top 8 side as we move to another top 8 side, the Melbourne Storm. Now, big one here. Fullback, Jerome Hughes or Scott Drinkwater. I've gone with Hughes. My wings are the same as last year. In fact, my entire starting 7 is the same as last year. I think Croft, this is the year he really needs to lock down that number 7. My front row, I have included Cameron Smith in that with Bromwich and Nelson Asofa-Solomona. I know Cam Smith hasn't officially re-signed, but as we spoke about earlier in the show, it should be close. Back row, no changes to last year. Well, when Ryan Hoffman was injured, of course. Kafusi, Stimson, Finucane. Bench utility, Smith, Welch, Kenny Bromwich, and Sam Cassiano off the bench. I suppose the biggest question over this side is who plays fullback for you?
I've heard some talk that Munster wants to go back to fullback. Personally, if it was me picking the squad, Munster's most comfortable at fullback. from what I've heard, his favourite position is fullback. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what I've heard. Hughes and Munster are the same. So Munster can play at fullback. Hughes can play at 6. Mm-hmm. He's originally a 6 Hughes, so it would work for him. Munster can play at 6. Hughes can play at 1. I'd have either of them in the spine somewhere. I rate Hughes very highly. He's an absolute gun of a player. One bloke I would add in that I think's had a tough run. Patrick Kafusi. I'd have him in off the bench somewhere. He's just so versatile.
Yeah,
obviously,
he's a great player.
Brother, it takes a bit of the spotlight off him. It's all of it's on Felice, but I think
Verte's pretty good as well. He was pretty powerful at the Warriors, but he's sort of fallen out of NRL like standard at the moment.
Yeah, they are great players. So I mean, there's a few players who need to show what they can do, or else they're going to lose their spot to one of those blokes. And I feel that that's a tough one. That's a great side. But, I think those two deserve a shot at some stage. They're absolute workhorses. They love their footy, you can tell. And look at the size of them. They're mountains.
Jaco3 asks in the chat, rumour of Jennings going to Para or Tigers. EV Dog asked that. Tigers are out of this situation with the salary cap imposed, $693,000 for obviously the Robbie Farah thing. They can no longer sign Robert Jennings. I think the Eels lead the race for his signature. I think the Eels also lead the race for James Seguiaro's signature, so there could be a couple more signings for the Eels before the season starts.
If we go back to Para just quickly, I do honestly think Seguiaro is going to end up at Para. You've seen in the YKTR vlogs, obviously Isaac spilt it. Yeah. He's going to be playing footy next year. He hasn't retired, so he's going to be somewhere. I think that's Para purely for the fact they needed to get rid of Norman. They're best mates on the field, so off field. So that's going to, be a big distraction for him. I think it's
distraction,
awesome,
but also they're business partners. And when you're business partners and you're playing professional sport, you need to have your focus fully on the game upcoming. I think the Eels were scared, maybe a day before the game, they're in the apartment, talking about potentially the business and rather than focusing on the game. It could happen, it could not have happened, but I can confirm to you guys the biggest reason Seguiaro didn't end up at the Eels after his last contract was because Norman was at the club. Let's move on to the West Tigers. I've got same back five as most of last year. Mbai, Norfoluma, Fanua, Mulletman, Masters, Thompson. Marshall Brooks in the halves. Packer, Farah, Martellino front row. Chris Lawrence, Ryan Madison back row. Elijah Taylor at lock. Reynolds as your bench utility, although I think they might want to put him at 6 and start that combination with Luke Brooks as they're both signed a bit longer than Benji is. Inject Benji into the game when he needs to. Twal, Eisenhuth, and at this stage, Michael Cheekham. Some depth players. Josh Aloiai, Luke Garner, Tyson Gamble, Jacob Liddell, Chris McQueen, Zane Musgrove, Paul Momorivsky. Now, straight away for me, if Mahe Fanua is dropped again like he was last year, Momorivsky comes in easily. He looked great at the Roosters, didn't he, in those couple games he played?
If something happens and he does stake his claim at starting centre, he's going to have a bright future. I reckon he's one of the better underrated centres in the game. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't make many changes to that team. Obviously, the back five, brilliant. I rate Thompson highly. Mahe Fanua, he's a gun. Norfoluma, Mbai, that's like, you'd think that would be a top 8 back five. Mm-hmm. In the halves, I'd put Reynolds in there because they need to prepare for life after Benji. Because if we're being realistic, this year will be Benji's last year.
Yeah.
Same with Farah. So they need to develop Little at 9 so he can, take Farah's spot when Farah leaves. And they need to develop Reynolds as being the 5'8" for when Benji makes way as well. So I think they need to get that combination sorted soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely agree with what you're saying there.
Madison, they better lock, when he's done, they better lock him up highly.
Ball playing back rower. They're hard to come by these days.
Exactly.
Let's move on to the 2019 Premiers now. The Gold Coast Titans. Fullback, we've got AJ Brimson. Anthony Don, Philip Sammy on the wings. Brian Kelly, Tyrone Peachey in centres. Tyrone Roberts, Ash Taylor in the halves. New front row of Boyd, Peets, Wallace. Back row, Proctor, James, Arrow. Bench, Rain, Hipgrave, Max King, Moeki, Fodawaker. One change I'm looking at straight away, and it's crazy how you can make a team list and almost want to change it a couple days later. If I was an NRL coach, man, I'd sit there and chop and change.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it'd be tough. But I think maybe Brian Kelly makes way for Michael Gordon. Gordon's a great goal kicker. I think we need his experience somewhere. Kelly out for Gordon, perhaps?
Yeah, I don't know.
Tyrone Roberts. Now, the reason I've gone with Tyrone Roberts, and hear me out, guys, and let me know what you think about what I'm saying in the chat. Not Tyrone Roberts, sorry. I'm going to talk about Riley Jacks.
Yeah.
I don't think he will be the same player as he was with the Melbourne Storm. Now, he struggled with the Melbourne Storm, and as a result, the club looked to Brodie Croft as their long-term half. There are a lot of young guns that have come into that Storm side and not struggled. I'll point to Jerome Hughes. I'll point to Brandon Smith. I'll point to Scott Drinkwater. I'll point to Cameron Munster when he first started there and he was still considered a young gun. And Riley Jacks struggled. For that reason, if he has struggled in such a professional system like the Melbourne Storm, I'm not sure he's going to set the world on fire at the Titans. I would go with Tyrone Roberts with Ash Taylor, as Ash Taylor has previously publicly stated he plays his best football with Tyrone Roberts when the club was obviously weighing up Roberts or LG, who do we partner Ash with. Ash came out and said, Tyrone Roberts. That's who I want to work with. That's his cousin. They're obviously very close off the field and they've previously had a connection. I think the Titans need to start this year strong, as I wipe a little bit of spit off the mic. Another change is James back to the back row to make way for Shannon Boyd to start. Do you like that, or do you think Boyd's going to play best off the bench for this team?
I like that. I like Boyd starting with Wallace. James started his career as a second rower. He's only developed into a front rower over the past couple of years. So I think him going back there, him and Proctor, look at that second row back. That's it.
Well, James is a try-scoring front row as well, so he will transition easy.
Just back onto that, the halves talk. I think, Riley Jacks obviously being in the professional system with Melbourne. He's gone from Bellamy to Garth Brennan. I'm not saying Garth Brennan's not a great coach, but
he's definitely not as experienced. You're right.
Not as experienced, exactly. But I will give Riley Jacks this. I honestly think it'll be Roberts and Taylor as they have played in the past, and they ripped it up when they did that. Roberts was very, very unlucky to go when he did. Obviously saving money and pitching for Hayne, which obviously ended up turning very sour. I think for Jack's case, he should feel comfortable. He's from the Gold Coast. He previously played, I don't know if he's from there, but he previously lived on the coast prior to signing with the Melbourne Storm. He was with Burley, then he went to Sunshine Coast. But he was with Burley, so he's used to being in the Gold Coast environment. He's used to it. He'll get some game time. I rate him highly. I think he was very unlucky not to play the back end of last year with Melbourne. Obviously, Croft played better. But, Jacks, but that's the thing. They've got so many halves as well. And it's and I'd say Kelly at 3. But then again, you need... Yeah, you can't leave Gordon out of the squad because it's going to be his last year as well.
But who do you leave out, man? What do? You can't drop Don or Sammy, and you can't drop Tyrone Peachey. You just signed him as your star recruit. At least Brian Kelly, right?
It's got to be Kelly. Or I don't know.
The only other option is Roberts drops out of the side, AJ goes to 5'8", and Gordon retains fullback.
I can't see that happen.
Neither. I can't see us signing Jacks and Roberts and playing neither.
Oh, exactly.
One thing I want to do with you, I want to go through our notable players here. I'm going to say their name. I want you to say yes or no as to whether you think they're NRL top 17 worthy.
Yep.
Morgan Boyle.
Yeah. I love Boyle. I know a lot of people can disagree, but I reckon he's very underrated.
Bryce Cartwright. Crazy
work ethic.
Tough one on the fence. I agree.
I've heard he's been working very hard, and I'd say based on last year, no, but then again, that could change.
Dale Copley.
Yeah,
Michael Gordon.
It's sad to Michael Gordon. It's
Riley,
sad.
Yeah. Riley Jacks.
Nah.
Leilani Latu.
Nah, not him either.
Brenko Lee.
Yeah.
Will Matthews.
Tough one, eh?
Yeah, and last but not least, Jack Stockwell.
Oh, nah.
Okay, so you didn't agree with some, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players there. We both definitely agree. I agree all, but you definitely agree 5 are NRL top 17 worthy.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Our depth is pretty good this year, and you would have to think Tweedheads and Burley are going to dominate Q Cup.
And that's no disrespect to Stockwell or any of the blokes I said. It's just I find the environment they're in is subject to their footy. I believe Stockwell was a lot better at Newcastle.
Yeah.
And St George for that fact, but I haven't really seen much of him to show that he's a.
He had a couple of good games for us towards the end of the year, but Moeki Fonawaka, 18, 19 years old, on a development contract, upgraded to full time because he trained the house down. Max King returning from injury, fully fit, great future. For me, it's a toss up between him and Boyle. Keegan Hipgrave. Got to have him there. You've got to have that hard, old-school aggression coming off the bench, lifting your team. Mitch
he's a Red as well. Just a little plug to the PVC Reds. He's a Red as well.
So I actually versed Keegan, man. I've started recording a Rugby League Live 4 series, and I spoke about this in one of them. He played for Narang, I played for Ormo, and he was always him, Jesse Savage. I think he went to Canberra, though. Did Josh Ralph go to PVC?
Nah, I think Jesse Savage went to PVC as well.
Yeah. No, they're all... Lewis Huckstep, he was at PBC, I believe. Yeah, man, PBC, Keebra, and Coombaba, 3 hardest teams to verse in football.
Very, very hard. If you ever are getting transferred to the Gold Coast, you've got to train the house down to verse those teams. They are crazy.
Yeah, well, my particular year, 1997, it was harder to make rep for my grade than it was 96. I trained the house down. And I was trying to make a place called Gold Coast Academy, and I could not make it for 97s. In the end, I got onto some camp with my mate Cameron Mansell, which it was mainly because of him. I was never really that great at footy, but he got me into the Gold Coast Academy camp with him, and most of those boys were from the 96 year because it was literally easier to make the year above, because otherwise you were coming up against Keegan Hipgrave and players of his calibre. Let's go across the ditch. New Zealand Warriors. RTS, Fusatua, Peter Hiku, Solomoni, Carter, Ken Mamalo, Adam Kieran, Blake Green, Blair, Luke, Parsi, Papali'i, Harris, Pulu, Tavanga, Nate Roach, Armau, Afoa. Now, looking at it now, I guess I got 2 questions for you. Number 1, is Adam Kieran the man to partner Blake Green? And number 2, is it silly that I'm carrying 2 hookers on the bench, Jazz Tavanga and Nate Roach, given they can both play back row and lock, but primarily they both are hookers?
Yeah. First one, obviously, Adam Kieran. From what I've seen, he's very deserving of getting that starting jersey at Penrith when he played. Obviously, Cup there, he tore the house down, and I think if his shot was to come this year, he'd grab it with both hands, and he'd be a very, very good replay. I wouldn't say he'd be at Shaun Johnson replacement standard, but he'd get to that standard eventually. Johnson's a heck of a player, whereas Kieran's a reserve grade player. But if he did get given the opportunity, I reckon he'd absolutely rip it up.
Yeah.
I would say, I don't know, 2 hookers, purely for the fact you can move some to lock, because that's pretty much covers all positions in the forward pack. But yeah, tough to say, man. I like Carl Lawton. I really do.
Yeah, I like Carlos too.
And I don't think Nate Roach was out all year last year, whereas Lawton did play some games. So I think if they were to roll with 2 hookers, I think Lawton would take that spot. I rate him very highly, and I think he will be I wouldn't say bench hooker, but I reckon he'd be close to being one of the hookers when if Isaac Luke ever does make way. I rate him very highly. But yeah, it's hard to say about the 2 bench hookers, man. It's very very on the fence with that one.
Yeah, Carlos is is an awesome bloke. Over last year, he needed to get his he lived on the water at the GC, and he had to get his boat trailer to his house, so he drove his boat on the trailer in the water. Like, he's going along with the trailer under the boat. One of the most hectic things I've ever seen in my life. Charlie, we've got bad news. We have got the first dislike on the video. Someone is not happy.
Not happy?
I don't know what to say.
Ugly head on the video. Must be the ugly mug.
Certainly be mine, mate, not you. As we move on to our last segment, my favourite segment. I love this one so much because everyone has a different opinion on this sort of stuff, and there is no right or wrong. Then versus now. Our then player is Shrek, Mark O'Mealy, and he's coming up against Regan Campbell-Gillard, 2 New South Wales Blues players. Which one would you take in your 17 and why?
I don't know, Hard to say. Probably Campbell-Gillard, I'd say now. I loved Mark O'Mealy back in the day. He was a champion, that bloke.
Yeah.
I'd probably say now Regan Campbell-Gillard. Probably back then, obviously that's the segment, but 2007 Mark O'Mealy. If that was him playing now, I'd take him, but can't say no to RCG. He's an absolute shredder.
I think I'm going with Mark O'Mealy. I've seen a little bit more of him, but I think Campbell-Gillard's going to have a great career. I'm still going to go with Shrek. I think it might have been Bryce Gibbs, and then Shrek came back and like literally killed him, like ran straight at the top of him, and his head smashed back. I remember seeing that as a kid, and I was like, oh my god. Our next then verse now, Matty Cooper, the sexiest man in league, as they call him, versus James Roberts, the fastest man in league. Who wins here? The sexiest or the fastest?
I think the sexiest.
No homo.
If I'm being honest, Matt Cooper.
Yeah.
Always been a fan of Matt Cooper. Always loved his work. I love Jimmy Roberts' style. He's a great player, but you can't say no to a vintage Matt Cooper. He
looked as good as he played.
Oh, exactly.
And I mean, no homo with this. The bloke is just an exceptional type, and Let's move on to our final then verse now. Brittany Mullens versus KP. Who do you take in your top 17 and why?
Oh, you'd take Ponga, surely. Brett Mullens was a gun.
Yeah. I didn't see too much of Mullens. He's a little bit before my time.
Yeah.
But
I've heard a bit of him, but yeah, you'd take Ponga for sure.
I guess, yeah. It is a tight one, though. It is very tight. I think you take Ponga purely because we haven't seen the best of him yet, and that's a scary thought.
Yeah, exactly. And there's more to come for Ponga as well.
Yeah.
Bloke's only 21 or something. Mate, it's freakish what he can do.
Definitely agree. As that is going to wrap up the podcast, guys. We ran for 1:40 tonight, the longest podcast I've ever done. Probably your longest as well, Charlie.
Yeah, definitely.
And despite that, I really hope you guys, those of you that are still watching, enjoyed it. Let me know via Instagram DM whether you want me to continue them on YouTube or move them back to Facebook. Option is yours. I'm pretty versatile. I don't mind. That being said, guys, all my socials are above me. What I want to ask you guys do at conclusion of this video, go to your Instagram and follow League Central if you're not already. That is Charlie's account. Very good account if you want to stay up to date and get some inside scoops on rugby league. I'm going to be working with Charlie a lot through 2019, so exciting things to come. I'm going to hand it over to you now, Charlie, to say goodbye to the stream. And one more time from me, guys, thank you so much for being here. Really hope you guys enjoyed the show. Any suggestions, like I said, Instagram's the best place to get me at.
Obviously, thanks guys for watching the video. It was very fun. I love doing these, giving you guys insight. I love what we do here. Obviously, go follow Clarky's column on Instagram. Clarky's NRL column, you'll find it. He posts some great stuff. A lot of variety there, so enjoy it. Hopefully, we'll be seeing you guys again soon, and yeah, take it easy.
Lovely.
Happy New Year, guys.
Cheers, legends.